we both kind of decided that like having a research background would be really helpful in the future. And so that was like the big reason that like I chose this school over like my other few options. It was just so nice to be able to like for the first time in my adult life be trusted with a actual science project that means something. And
today I'm joined by Anna Wilcox, one of my students ×2, right?
yes.
Genetics and then pathophys now, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. How's your semester going so far?
Probably the best one so far in
Oh, good.
terms of like I don't have to be here 12 hours a day now.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell the audience where you're from and how you ended up at Minnesota State.
I'm from Appleton, Wisconsin, so about 5.5 hours from here. And I kind of like I knew I wanted to go far away from where I was for college, but I didn't know exactly like where until like 6 months before people had to like really make their decision. And so this was one of my options because my friend was going to come here for tennis. And so that's kind of the only way I knew the name at first because she was like, I'm going to go here. You could always come here if you wanted.
But, what was something like when you investigated the department? Because like a big audience of this show is the parents and the students that are thinking of college. Actually, that like that's strangely what the algorithm has told me.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of interesting. But what should people look for in a department? Say whatever they want to major in that are like kind of green flags. Because you already made the first right step, which was looking at the departments you want to be in, because that's where you'll spend all your time. It won't be at the fun, good-looking like gyms and other fun things, even though it can be. But you're gonna be in Trafton.
Yeah, always. I looked into ways that I was gonna be able to like go above and beyond or seem like a really good candidate, even like farther in the future. And I found Rise Bio on the website, and like you said, parents and students, my mom helped me out a lot with like making the final decision. And we found Rise Bio, we applied for it, and we both kind of decided that like having a research background would be really helpful in the future. And so that was like the big reason that like I chose this school over like my other few options, was because it's like I won't just be like one student in the mix. Like I'm going to have like a specific place where I'm going to belong. And I thought that would be like the best option for me here.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've had multiple other people from Rise on so far and like kind of told the audience a bit, but it's like, it's kind of like a research experience where you get to know the professors and like the other students in it. So you do kind of come in with this built-in community. Because one of the hardest things I think with college is like by year 1.5, if you feel like you don't know like a ton of people, that's when like a lot of the retention and the dropout like happens. Because it's just like, I don't know enough people and that sucks. And like, it's not any fault of their own. So again, props to Rise Bio to say the least. What would you say were some of the challenges you did have to kind of overcome on like the college, like finding and then like that first year kind of journey?
We kind of talked about it a little bit beforehand where like I thought I was destined to go to school for like dance, like athletics. And then that just like kind of crashed and that wasn't going to be my plan anymore. And I had to like go on a identity crisis and then find myself again. 'Cause I'm like, well, I was just good at dance my whole life. So I was going to go to school for dance and just kind of have like science be like the second thing. And then I had to like adjust my mindset to like, no, this is going to be my future now. I need to invest into this now. And I wouldn't have had it any other way. Like, I'm glad I didn't end up doing like the solely dance route, because now I'm able to invest more into like all of my biology classes and like my random classes that come along, like physics, chemistry. Yeah, like that was a really big change for me to have to like switch my whole way of thinking and finding a new thing to enjoy. Because at first biology was just like, yeah, I'm learning something, but I didn't have like the passion I had at first like I do now.
What was, because that brings up a good point that a lot of the national conversation now is like, oh no, don't ever major in the arts or humanities, only STEM.
Yeah.
But you actually had like the right reasons behind it. Like, what lessons do you take from what you learned in the arts into like kind of what we do now? Like, what do you think, like you may have it, and you may have to think about it, like what advantages you kind of have in that mindset that like the typical STEM and biology major may not in some cases?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like surrounded by people who have like doctors as parents, and so they're like from day one they're like, I'm gonna become a doctor. But then I kind of grew up not really having specifically like my parents are doctors. I have a way in like I'm gonna do this the rest of my life. Like I grew up and everybody like praised me for being good at dance, and I was like, I'll just keep going because like it's nice to get that praise and be like, if I'm good at it, I'll just keep doing it. And then I just reached a point when I was like, oh, I'm not doing it anymore. So it's like I'm gonna switch my mentality so we can be better at more than one thing. And I had to realize that it's going to be a big learning curve for me to just become good at science for the first time, basically, in my life. So having that mental switch of like, I didn't come from this, but I can become it was really hard to admit to myself that it is possible. Kind of had to like gaslight myself to think that I could do it at some point.
But that's good. Like psychologically, like you had to kind of take, you kind of had to rig the game psychologically to say like, this is going to happen. I can believe in myself and I'm going to do it. And now you are.
Yeah.
Which shows like kind of that, I don't know. I think that power of the mind is some people just run from that step right there. And hopefully like what college is for 4 years in higher ed can be the environment to be like, okay, I have the support systems to make this massive anarchy transition to I'm going to study science now, for example. Yeah. And that's okay. And I think you bring up the other fun thing that is like, how many students would you say, like, is it a misconception that STEM students or biology students in general are very focused on like one thing? And like how you said, like you like multiple things. And even if we just call it two, like dance and biology, is that a misconception or is that kind of on point for a lot of the bio kids?
I feel like everyone's very like, they don't have any, like they're very narrow mindset and they're like, I'm going to do this. This is all I'm going to do. I don't care what it's going to take. And I'm trying to find like a really good balance of like, I'm just going to do what I can, do what makes me happy first, and then the rest will follow. Because if I don't enjoy the way that I'm studying, but I have to study, it's like, is it really going to help me out in the long run? If I grow to start to kind of like hate studying and hate learning about these things, like you have to find ways to like find your own little like niches within things to like enjoy them, because you can't just constantly do school. Like you can't constantly do it. And some people use like the gym as an outlet. Some people, I use dance as an outlet. Like I'll just rent studio space on campus. Like I have like my balance that keeps me sane and keeps me going. Like
even part of that's for me doing this, that I'm not just like staring at my email all day, basically.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you've seen how I email kind of hardcore. I need to chill on that. Not hardcore. I reply very quickly if I get something, and then people are like, "Why'd you just do that?" And I was like, "I don't know, because it was there."
It's helpful.
But what you mentioned the niche, like, and you mentioned having dance and stuff. What was something in science that, like, in that first like period of becoming that science person, you did attach to, and you're like, "This is great." Like, I'm going to go more over here with this thing.
Yeah. Honestly, all of Rise Bio. And the fact that, like, Dr. Cohen really just, she was always there for us to ask questions and get help, but she really just kind of, like, was able to set us loose as, like, adults and be like, I'm here if you need anything, but this is your project. And I want to see if you can figure out what to do next first. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing next. But, I mean, it was just so nice to be able to, like, for the first time in my adult life, be trusted with a actual science project that mean something. And when I started to go on, like, these trips to go present my research, like, my first semester of sophomore year, I went to Washington, D.C., and everybody thought I was a grad student because of my research. And I was like, no, I'm an undergrad. And everyone was really shocked that I was an undergrad and I was doing stuff like this.
Awesome though, yeah.
So that kind of woke me up to be like, oh, this is cool stuff that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, this is impressive that I am doing stuff like this as a sophomore, started it freshman year. So, like, finally seeing the outcome slightly was enough for me to be like, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm doing something that not a lot of people are doing, and I should be proud of it, and I should keep working at it, because if I'm enjoying it and people are proud, that's like the best combo.
Yeah. That's a good quote that you just gave, essentially, like finding that piece that was probably daunting to think about before it had been completed, right? Like, I'm going to do my own project. I'm completely alone suddenly. But then, like, looking at the very end goal, or like the very end, like, product type of thing, you're like, dang, like, I'm like walking around and I'm like, I'm the boss now, basically. So it was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it's been really nice.
But yeah, like finding that piece and like being able to set loose in that environment is tough for a lot of people. Like, I mean, on the show, I don't rag on my genetics students, but they're in the 200 level, so they're just learning. Mm-hmm. That is one of the first times, like in one of the labs, I'm like, all right, this is your project, you do it. And they're like, no, but how much of this do we put in? I was like, you have to read the protocol and create like what you want to do. I can't intervene anymore. I need you to do it. Yeah. Sometimes that doesn't work out well for me. They're kind of mad at me, but we'll get over it. Yeah. But in terms of that, yeah, like what is your next step career-wise, you think? Like what would you ideally like end up doing post MSU? And then getting off of that, what do you think is there a changing role in higher ed towards more like work prep versus the more creative side of things? Yeah. So I want to go into some sort of research. Rise Bio really inspired me, and I really like enjoying research. But I've always wanted to do something in the medical field. However, I wasn't always sure that patient care was going to be for me, like real intense patient care, at least. And so medical research sounded really exciting to me, like working with like bacteria, viruses, vaccine development, like all of those things sound very interesting to me. But right out of undergrad, I want to apply for grad programs and PhD programs. And if a PhD program will take me, that would be great. But I mean, also applying for grad schools. It would be good. And I think this is actually one of the things that I was talking to another student the other day. We were laughing about how I had the misconception as well. Like at Carleton, I was like, to get my PhD, which like I finally had settled on, I was like, oh, I have to go get a master's first. Yeah. That's actually not true. I just found that out recently too. And I because like a lot of my friends that were in the PhD program that did have a master's, I'll admit right here, they were more prepared. Okay. Not only for classes Carleton did like prepare me for, because they hit us over the head in those classes. Like they were intense. Like there was no escape, which was good. But no, like research wise, coming in with the masters, I know like a couple of my friends, Shashank and Nisha, they were like kind of hitting the ground pretty ready versus I had to learn extremely quickly, or I got behind on projects, and then it was like, so I figured out very quickly to get moving and like get ahead of the game. They were ahead already by having the masters. So if anybody is listening as we're talking to, getting the masters first is not some bad thing. Yeah. One thing I'll say is that each program is very different, right? Like some master's programs offer tuition, some are non-thesis, some are no teaching. I'll make a plug for ours. You get a stipend. You do teach 2 lab sections usually of students. So you're like the graduate assistant for that. It is thesis based, and people will kind of ask like, oh, shouldn't I just get non-thesis? I just take some classes. I'm here to promise you that in a lot of cases, I'll break the fourth wall here, probably get a thesis master's if you can. If your goal is PhD or kind of otherwise, they're typically like regarded a little more powerfully. Yeah. Because I think even with a thesis master's, you could even start at some of the startup type places or the pharmas and stuff. And especially right now, not a bad idea to consider considering where all the money's going right now. That's not conspiratorial. That's just saying like, go where the money and the jobs are. Yeah. Which is fine. And you can still gain a ton of experience. And then if you wanted to transition back into academia, that's always good. Yeah. But But ideally, would you run like your own lab, like the Wilcox lab?
Oh, that'd be so great.
Okay, that'd be kind of cool.
That would be so fun.
Nice.
Just doing anything to kind of, I've kind of talked to you about how like I'm really interested in preventative medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's obviously we always need like if everything goes down, like we need something to cure it really quick, like COVID vaccine. Like and we had to get that out quick. We weren't ready. But finding ways to like prevent things before it happens is what I'm really motivated by, because it always sucks when you're like it's a little too late to save a lot of people. So we just do what we can, I guess. But I really like the idea of preventative medicine and taking care of people as soon as you can.
No, and that's, I mean, no matter what, it's usually the best way, numbers wise, data wise, to prevent the most loss of everything, to say the least.
Yeah.
But there are challenges with it. Well, not gonna be the first one to admit that for sure. Given kind of we're on the topic of like funding, science funding, things like that, which is in the news right now. Do be careful. Yeah, do make sure you still go somewhere that is just chocked full of money and they're still offering everything. Like if you go to a med center for the PhD, they'll probably be able to offer you the 30 grand stipend a year, no matter what. And then that's helpful. And especially I'm going to make a plug for Omaha. If you live in a place that's cheaper to live, that money actually goes somewhere in grad school. It doesn't just get gobbled up and you need more loans.
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask you, and this will help like a lot of listeners going through like any finance, like question type stuff. What was your like kind of financial, what did you need to overcome financially to get to this moment, basically?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. So back to the like question you asked earlier about like how did I end up at MSU?
Mm-hmm.
I was like literally about to say that like accept my invitation to go to Iowa. Okay. And then one day I just came home from dance practice and my mom was sitting there not looking happy, and she was like, so apparently Iowa's not part of reciprocity deal with Wisconsin, which we thought it was. Mm-hmm. We were wrong. That was on us. And I was like, oh, can I afford Iowa? She's like, I don't think we can afford Iowa. And I was like, okay, so now what? And she's like, well, we've been talking about MSU. And she's like, it's affordable and like you can do it off of loans. Like it's not impossible to pay back. And so I just kind of was like, okay. It was like kind of the last thing I needed to hear to be like, I think this is what I should do, where I'm meant to go. It had a lot of positive aspects to it. So I was like, I think this will be a good idea. But so like it helped me finally decide where I wanted to go. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I'm like going to school on all loans and I'm paying them back. Like I'm not having a parent pay them back. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's okay. It happens. And sometimes you have to take out some loans just to pay your rent. Sometimes to get dinners. And it's okay. Like I don't feel like anyone should feel ashamed that they have to do that. It just proves that you're working with a lot and you're able to like overcome a lot with like everything's expensive right now. Like everything's super expensive. Finding an apartment for next year, everything's a bare minimum of $500 a month per person. So it's like, never feel bad that you have to take out loans. Like, not everybody can. No,
and it's so helpful for you to share that story because I think a lot of people and maybe you felt the same way, you know, the 2 or 3 years ago that you were in that situation, felt like maybe you were the only one going through that like similar situation, like, oh no, like we have to adjust, but I guarantee there's like thousands of people right now probably having that convo. Because I know how much we cost. I think tuition is about 9,000 or is it about 10 now, maybe? Or is it lower?
I think it's a little lower.
Oh, good. Like 7 maybe?
I think it's about 7 or 8.
That's awesome. Not to rag on Iowa. What is Iowa's tuition non-reciprocity? What was it?
Oh boy, it was almost like double more maybe. It was like an unfathomable amount for me to pay back. Like, I didn't even like argue with my mom about it. I was like, we can't do that.
Well, even that search process for colleges is so tough. It's kind of the same feeling I get going to the doctor sometimes where I'm like, oh, this is so good. Good. We're figuring all this out. Oh, crap. How much does it cost me?
Yeah.
And it was like, suddenly it's like, okay, now this is what's going to happen. And like, I think that can kind of spring on people. And I don't think it's the college's fault necessarily. It's just, it's tough, especially like, I think we're right in the time right now, February to April, where decisions are being made. And so I know that can get tough.
Yeah.
No, but like a story like that helps and like kind of shows like, hey, you can still pull this together, like with the passion for something you want to do, like you said, but sometimes it is hard decisions that people like don't talk about. And I know like and I'd say probably this is the first time on the show that somebody's been kind of showed the story a little more, I don't know, just like it actually took this and it was actually really tough in that time. So that's good. A lot of people need want to hear that and kind of understand. So trust me that it's a good thing to hear and understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're thriving. Now it's great.
Yeah.
We talked about the pathodex the other day on the show. Like my list of 450 diseases. You got to fill them in for like cause, genesis, or like cause, mechanism, symptoms. Yeah. It's okay. It's been fun. Are you filling in exam 2 stuff?
Yeah, I'm getting there. Slowly but surely.
Oh yeah. And then this will transition to our other thing. How's AI in education? What do you think about it? Yeah.
So it is really helpful, but I will be honest, I was too scared to use it for a very long time because all of my teachers, when it like first started coming out in my high school experience, I was like, oh, like people are getting like in school suspension for this stuff. Like if it's even on your computer. So I was like, I'm not doing that. And I would be the stickler yelling at other people when outside of school they'd be like, oh, I just use ChatGPT to figure it out. I'm like, no, don't do that. We can't do that. And like I had a bad, like I assumed it was all bad. And like it's literally just been like this year I've started to actually start seeing and like understanding what it's capable of and like how it can be used for good. It's not like what's the answer to this possible exam question? It's like what would you recommend I do to study for this class specifically? Right. I like that aspect of it.
It helps as a tutor.
Yeah.
Yeah. It helps as like something like a directive.
Yeah.
And episode 5, Malcolm, who we talked about, he said that he's like, yeah, like, you know, Keenan, you give practice questions. Mm-hmm. Not everybody does. That's fair. But I can generate them a little bit now with this thing.
Yeah.
Right. And then what you guys can actually do, you have the pathodex, right?
Yeah.
You have a list of diseases on exam 2. Mm-hmm. You can give it a roll, probably.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Yeah.
I'm excited with like the possibilities it could do. Mm-hmm. And kind of, it makes me think too of like, how could I ask them to ask me a question to assist my learning? It's like all over the place, but it makes you think deeper about things like, this is what I want. How do I vocalize what I want to a robot?
Yeah, that's true.
Like get what I want.
Yeah, because talking to it sometimes is a little different. I suppose we're both still on the free plan. I'm not paying that thing.
Oh, yeah, I'm not.
No way. Not that I'm not like talking about it right now, like driving up press about it in a higher ed podcast. But yeah, I mean, for the last thing, what would you say, like, I don't know, if you wanted to share what the purpose of higher ed is or if you had anybody in that admission cycle right now that is maybe going through it, what advice maybe would you give them? So you can take either or. Yeah.
So I think higher education is so important and it's so helpful. And I think that because I've had a lot of people in my life who have talked so poorly about higher education, how it doesn't help you. You could get a job paying so well in like a trade, like it's better if you just go off and do that kind of stuff. But then I try and have a civil conversation with them about like anything in the news, honestly, and they just blow up on me. And I'm like, hold on. What you mentioned in Pathophys, which I'm always going to remember, is like we get this education so that we can have the civil conversations and we can have that collaboration. And like that's really all I need to hear because it's important to get that group setting. It's important to get that collaboration within labs and within lectures itself, just to be able to hear the other side and not immediately think, well, that's not what I think, so you're wrong. One of us has to be wrong, because you talk a lot about gray area.
Yeah.
And I think receiving a higher education is what allows you to accept the gray area and to accept that we all have an opinion, and to even sometimes be like, I don't know if my option, even though I like it the most, is the best option
Right.
for everyone. I think higher education, like, you can't just stare at a textbook and just be like, I understand all of this now. Like, I could
Right.
be a doctor just from reading a textbook. But I think, like, the application you get within a class and a lab, the hands-on experience, and also, like, having the collaboration with professors who have done it.
Mhm.
They know it. They have all this experience, and they're just waiting to share it with you so that you can take whatever you need from it. I think that's what's the most important part of a higher education. It sucks that it's expensive. It's hard, but it's going to be so helpful in the future for everybody if you're able to have a civil conversation about a really hot topic at the time, because it's not going to help anyone out in the future if you can't sit down and talk through both sides together.
Right. And I think, I mean, you hit a ton of good points right there. I mean, like, even just, I think one of the stranger things, and this is more of a science plug, even, it's not an admission that you're wrong. You should actually expect to be wrong eventually and be able to say, like, oh, yeah, all right, well, moving on, we're changing this. Like, we're going to do this now, and being okay with that. And the reference you made in pathophys, like we brought up, we were in neurobiology and psychiatry. And so we got some questions on there that were like, these are tough, man.
Mm-hmm.
And like I took the role of King Keenan, remember? And I was like, all right, option A, B, and C. Option A is mine. And like, it's straight up evil. Mm-hmm. You guys have to debate between B and C or I win. And I don't know. And you're right to bring up too, where it's like, I think sometimes too, and this is also kind of on the fault of a lot of academic voices out there that do run around and say, I'm better than this person. Intelligence is a big game. There's plenty of very very intelligent people that can smash an MCAT that I would say things and do things that I'm like, oh my God, like, what is wrong? Why would you say that? Like, you can't, the social intelligence is like off the rails, or like way too down. And I do think that coming together and finding each other on a lot of common stuff is an ability that we can kind of hone here, but it doesn't mean that it's an easy thing to do by any means. And that's part of that stuff about, like, you can't really see that on a YouTube video series as much.
Yeah. And you learn so much humility in college, like whether it's like a test grade that you thought you did so good, you get that back and it's not even a 50%. Like, you gain a lot of humility of like, I'm not good at this. Like,
not yet.
Right. Yeah. You come in from high school. Like, I came in from high school. I got A's and B's all in high school. And I was like, I like science. I'll do science. And then I took like genetics.
Sorry.
And I went, oh no.
Dang it.
I was like, oh gosh. But I've told you multiple times, like, I loved what I was learning, but I wasn't prepared for the type of test because I've never had someone who made me think so deeply.
Yeah, sorry.
And like, no, thank you. I'm actually really glad because, like, if I want to go into anything like real world research, I need to think applicably and think like a step ahead.
Yeah.
And so, like, that was just my first experience with it. I've had other classes that have been like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that I'm experiencing it because I just never experienced it in high school necessarily. But then I came here, even with like chemistry, the department, like, chem's not my thing, and I had to realize it, but I had to figure out like how to get through it in my own little way. Mm. And finding communities within college, like people who are in the same boat as you, and just being willing to be open with them and share, like, I'm not good at this, and they're like, I'm not good at this either. Like, we can bond and we can work together.
Right.
But I've also seen really reserved people who are like, well, I'm just kind of good at this, so I don't really need to. It's just kind of, you find the people who are willing to be emotional with you and be open with you. And I've found out that those people who are able to be, like, who are able to have that humility are gonna go a lot farther in life, I think. That's my opinion. Because good grades are good grades. Like, yeah, they look really good on paper, but if you go in for like your interview for med school and you have all A's on paper, but you're not very kind, I
Yeah.
think that speaks a lot of volumes. So it's
Oh, and trust that we do the practice med interviews, and we've had people just robot it and or be combative to us being the fake interviewers, and we're like, oh boy, or insult nurses, and it's like, or insult patients, and it's like, okay, this is good that you're practicing because whoa, wait, take that down all the way to 0.
yeah.
No, but you bring up a ton of good things of just like, you will meet and find people that support and challenge you, that you'll be good at certain things and they'll be bad at those things. But if you synergize together, it's like, oh, dang, like I can form teams. I can like rebuild what I like. The first round didn't go well on something, but I can come back from that. Look at me. And again, you don't have to do that in college. You can find that in the, like you said, like doing an associate's and like learning what you want to learn and do what you want to do and what you're good at. And so I think that's the conversation that higher ed has to have with everybody is like, this is not some superiority complex. We are here to learn, do our thing, and hopefully get better and contribute back something, hopefully. And that's the plan, I think. Plus, we're not all crazy. We're too busy to be crazy. There's too many things to study. There's too many diseases to memorize on the pathodex, right?
It's too much.
It's too much. I know. Perhaps I treated you guys too harshly because I did put 20 ocular and 20 auditory diseases. I probably got to take at least 5 of those off because they're pretty specific.
I mean, it's gonna help us in the long run. That's just what I keep telling myself.
I'll say it on here. Maybe people in class watching. I'm gonna take it easy on the exam too for pathophys on the sensory stuff because I was looking at some of those and I was like, even I don't know some of these things. Like I gotta take these off if I don't know it.
Yeah,
definitely. But Anna, thanks so much for joining us. It was so fun, and like I think your conversation will be so valuable for everybody going through, some of the tougher parts of this journey, but seeing that like how much light is on the other side of everything, and like just the opportunity and the doors that open. So thanks so much for joining.